So we got our list of the player field for the 2022 Dallas Open. And when you see that list, who catches your eye that's in this field?
Well, first of all, it's pretty cool that Dallas, after 33 years of not having an ATP event, the last ATP tour event, I was in the final in 1989 at Reunion Arena playing John McEnroe in the WCT final. But they've had some challengers, and they had a great one I was at 5 years ago, the T-Bar M Racket Club, and that's where I actually saw this amazing SMU facility. You got the two big guys that instantly jump out, and Riley Opelka, the 7-footer, and then you got John Isner, who's local, 6'10", from Dallas, and then now the number one American, Taylor Fritz. So we have a lot of Americans in the field, but maybe the one I'm actually most looking forward to, because I think he could have a great year. He was at Baylor for a year, Jensen Brooksby. He's from Northern Cal. He made the round of 16 of the Open. And I think this 21-year-old, he's got a chance to be a really tremendous player. Unfortunately, had to pull out of the Aussie Open the other day because of COVID. But so he'll be making his start to the year in Dallas. Also, we've got other young Americans. Brandon Nakashima from San Diego, the 20-year-old, has made some really good progress. Former number 3 in the world, Grigor Dimitrov. Former number 4 in the world, Kei Nishikori. And another college player to keep an eye on that's having good success, just got to the finals last week in Melbourne tournament, lost to Rafael Nadal, Maxime Cressy, 6'6", who played at UCLA, serves and volleys, old school player. I really like his game. And then maybe the most interesting one at the very bottom is Nick Kyrgios. You never know what you're going to get with Nick, very mercurial, but incredibly talented, especially indoors, somebody to keep an eye on.
So I think Nick is described as a fan favorite. What is it about him that makes him a fan favorite?
I kind of say mercurial, and that you never know what you're going to get from Nick. I mean, he's a guy that has beaten everybody. And he's also a showman. He can also, play down to his competition. He can play up, but more than anything, I think he likes to put on a show. And he's got a monster serve, but he's somebody, even though he's ranked where he is, that if he gets hot, wouldn't shock me. He makes a deep run in the tournament.
How quickly can this event and the SMU venue help extend or springboard tennis's popularity in North Texas?
Well, first of all, Dallas is a great tennis town. I mean, you have some huge tennis clubs, Brookhaven, T-Bar M, two, very prominent, clubs. I think Dallas has a huge playing, tennis population. I went to the Challenger 5 years ago at T-Bar M. It did unbelievably well. That's where I went to the facility at SMU. I was blown away by the indoor facilities. They even built in the locker rooms there a Wimbledon replica. It's like they had the Wimbledon lockers, beautiful indoor, outdoor facility. They also had a Challenger at the Four Seasons there. That was another beautiful venue. They've had a couple of women's events, and obviously the WCT had such rich history. And judging by the player field that they have this year, I think it will take this tournament no time to capture, the public. I think this event, will do really well. Peter is somebody I've known for a long time, from way back in Memphis. And this tournament, went from Memphis to Long Island to Dallas, and Peter has rich history with this tournament. So I think he will be able to take this tournament into great place in a very short period of time. And I really expect the people of Dallas to embrace this event.
All right, I'm going to talk to you about the top 3 Americans that are in the field, and I'm going to go a little out of order because I'm going to save our
No problem.
Yeah. Taylor Fritz, he reached his first ATP finals, if I've done my homework correctly, at the age of 18. And here he is 6 years later. Where is his game right now? And is he continuing to rise?
And that first final was in Memphis, which is the origin of this tournament. I think that he's somebody that has gotten better. He's quietly up to around 21, 22 in the world, got a big serve and forehand, and he's steadily gotten better. Had a big run at Indian Wells, got to the semifinals there in October, which was his biggest, result ever in a big tournament. And somebody I think that's probably becoming comfortable with where he's going in his game. But his game is all based around, his serve and forehand, a little bit like Isner's, obviously not as big at 6'4", but somebody that probably is on his way into the top 15 in the world at 24 years old. I really like the progress that he's made. It's been steady. And there's a really good group of 24-year-olds with, Francis Tiafoe, Tommy Paul, who's another one that's playing the tournament, who is the same age. So, there's a good mix of players in that group. Riley Opelka, 24 as well, in that group as well. So I think that, there's about 6 or 7 that are in that age group. And, they're hoping for one of them probably to make the top 10, make a deep run in the slam.
So speaking of one of those, Riley Opelka, does he, every time he touches the ball with the racket, does the fuzz come off? He just is a monster, isn't he?
Well, maybe Dallas Mavericks could use a 7-footer. He moves incredibly well for 7 feet tall. Got a monster serve. But I think the thing that will surprise you most about him is how well he moves, how athletic he is. Isner for 6'10", is much more about the serve and forehand. But even when he was younger, his game isn't based upon being like a small forward. He'd be a guy that, the movement is decent, but it's all about his serve and forehand. Opelka's a little more athletic, and his movement is something that surprises you. And he's also got a monster serve. It's really hard to figure for a guy 7 feet tall that he can throw down some heat. He's up to like 24 in the world. They're all ranked, like, I think in the latest rankings, like 21, 23, 24. And they're seeded basically that for this year's Australian Open, which is going to start next Monday.
All right. Then our home.
You can't coach being 7 feet tall. I think that he's got a great chance in the next, 18 months to get in the top 10 in the world.
And how difficult is that? With all the mechanics of the body and being tall, doesn't that make it more difficult to get everything aligned properly?
Well, it makes it more difficult facing his serve. But listen, we have 7-foot guys in the NBA that don't play in the paint, so it's an evolution of sports. But Isner and Opelka, their biggest challenge is return a serve, is getting enough breaks to be able to take their game to another level. It's nothing about their serve, but to get to the highest level, it's about maybe just improving their return just a smidge.
All right, then John Isner, the comfort of playing at home versus the pressure of playing in an event that's in his backyard. How do you think that'll play out for him?
Well, I can tell you from my own personal experience, I'm from the Bay Area, and San Francisco was my home tournament. I started as a ball boy. And there's no better feeling of playing, a lot of times in a big country, we say, oh, our home tournament is the States, but it's a big country. So it's a little different to say that you're playing in Memphis or New York or California, so if you actually live in the city, you get to drive to the tournament. It's a really special, feeling. Sometimes it's a little bit tricky to have to deal with all the tickets that you got to get. Hopefully somebody in your team can take care of that. I used to buy a box for the San Francisco tournament and then hopefully have my wife or somebody deal with that, but it's great feeling. And there's no better feeling than playing well in your hometown. I mean, obviously there's pressure because you want to play well, but there's nothing like driving to and from yourself and, one time a year, because I'm sure, John practices all the time when he's in Dallas, but when you're playing for the first time, it's a really special feeling and you want to do well.
So lastly, Brad, what's one thing you think fans need to know or need to see? If you tell them, give this event one chance, who is it that they need to come out and see, or what is it that they need to come see?
Well, first of all, it's a special venue at SMU. And if you haven't been there, it's probably the finest college indoor facility in the country. The outdoor courts are right behind it. So this will hopefully warm you up to not only coming to the Dallas Open, but maybe you'll start coming to the SMU matches because it is an incredibly beautiful venue. There's 10 Americans that are in the field. So there's a lot to hang your hat on the Americans. The one that I brought up, first, Jensen Brooksby, who played briefly at Baylor. I think he's somebody that I think that a great thing about coming to a tournament like this is seeing somebody for the first time. It's like, wow, maybe this guy can be something great. And then you start following him. But I think most importantly is that it's so great after 33 years to see ATP tennis back. We've had challengers, like I said, at T-Bar M and at the Four Seasons. But this is something that hopefully Dallas will be, on the ATP calendar for a long time to come. They have great people behind them, great venue, and I think the people will come support it. I think it has a chance to be a great event, and being the first tournament on the North American stop of the ATP Tour starting in 2022, I think is a great beginning for the Dallas Open.